So, welcome to this module on enterprise architecture. And in this module, I want to achieve a few different things. Firstly, I want to explain and define what enterprise architecture is. Also, I'd like to describe what the main drivers for enterprise architecture are. And lastly, to explain the key purpose of enterprise architecture. So let's first of all imagine a company without an enterprise view of what's happening. So let's imagine there's one business unit within the company that decides to purchase some email software, and they buy all these Mac computers to support that business unit. Let's also imagine another business unit within the same enterprise, and they also purchase an email system. And then there's another business unit that doesn't know too much about IT. They really kind of make the wrong decision. They purchase something very old, and they have their own email application. So the problem happens when one business unit wants to kind of connect with a business unit, and they find that because of their email applications are so different, there's a lot of incompatibility. And the same thing happens between the other two business units. We find that there's incompatibility because all these individual business units have made independent, autonomous decisions about their own systems and applications, and as a consequence, they find things can't really integrate. So this is really a recipe for duplication and integration issues, and with separate institutions, separate business units making their own IT decisions, this actually increases overall costs of IT, as well as posing a lot of challenges around data duplication and integration. So this is an example of a company that hasn't taken really an enterprise view of what they're doing. So we have the notion of enterprise business requirements now. And as we know, there are lots of different business units within any kind of organization. You might think of a multinational organization, tens of thousands of people around the world, individual business units, pretty much functioning as their own kind of separate individual unit. And sometimes what we have is systems and applications and business initiatives that really span across all different business units. They're not tied to any particular business units. They're pretty much connected across all these different business units. And by enterprise systems, what I mean are things like supply chain management systems, customer relationship management systems, and business intelligence solutions. All these are examples of systems that don't sit in isolation. They're actually systems that cut across all these different business units. And that's what we mean by kind of the enterprise view of things. There are business objectives, there are business applications that really sit across all these separate business units, and they don't belong to any particular business unit. There's actually a business need to draw information, to process information across all these multiple units. So an example would be retail banking, and I used to work on a number of banking projects in my consultancy days. This is the bank that I bank with in Malaysia. It's called Maybank. It's actually the largest bank in Malaysia. And it's not only a bank account that Maybank actually offers its customers. It actually has a range of different products and services that it offers to its customers, and all these are supported by individual IT systems and applications. So, for example, Maybank offers current accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, investments, insurance, loans. It offers a full set of financial services, and underneath all these are supported by individual applications, but there's actually a need to bring this all together to provide a single consolidated view of the customer. So that's an example of, how the enterprise view of a business, how an enterprise view of IT is actually helpful to the kind of strategy that an organization wants to work towards. So what do we mean by enterprise architecture? I know this is a new kind of word, a new phrase. You might have heard it before. This is the definition from the MIT Center for Information Systems Research. They do a lot of research and work in this area of enterprise IT. Their definition is enterprise architecture is the organizing logic for business processes and IT infrastructure, reflecting the integration and standardization requirements of the company's operating model. The operating model is the desired state of business process integration and business process standardization for delivering goods and services to customers. So enterprise architecture, according to their definition, is about the organization logic. Here's another definition from Margaret Rouse, taken from whatis.com. She talks about enterprise architecture as a conceptual blueprint that defines the structure and operation of the organization. The intent of the enterprise architecture is to determine how an organization can most effectively achieve its current and future objectives. So, conceptual blueprint, that's her keyword. There's a couple of more definitions that I'd like to share with you. This is from the Enterprise Architecture Book of Knowledge. Enterprise architecture is a practice. It's a practice which analyzes areas of common activity within or between organizations where information and other resources are exchanged to guide future states from an integrated viewpoint of strategy, business, and technology. And here's the final definition from Gartner, which is the research company. EA is the process of translating business vision and strategy into effective enterprise change by creating, communicating, and improving the key requirements, principles, and models that describe the enterprise's future state and enable its evolution. The scope of the enterprise architecture includes the people, processes, information, and technology of the enterprise and their relationships to one another and to the external environment. Enterprise architects compose holistic solutions that address business challenges of the enterprise and support the governance needed to implement them. So there's 4 different definitions of what enterprise architecture is. Some of them focus on architecture as being a kind of conceptual blueprint, some kind of organization logic. Some other definitions focus on EA, enterprise architecture, as a kind of process or as a practice where you're kind of doing something. I like to think of enterprise architecture as a kind of bridge. So here's the bridge. On one side of the bridge you have the business, and on the other side of the bridge you have your information technology. So on the business side you've got various things happening, your business plans, your business strategy, various business initiatives, business projects, new business ventures, business needs and business requirements. So a lot of businessy things happening. On the IT side, you have your IT plans, your IT strategy, IT initiatives, IT projects, your various IT assets that you have, information technology, and even decisions around IT outsourcing. So really, enterprise architecture for me is a kind of bridge that brings the two together. We've talked about alignment previously, and the need to align IT with what the business wants. Well, that's actually very, very difficult to do. But enterprise architecture is kind of like the tool set, the framework which kind of brings together both these different elements. And obviously, alignment is not easy to achieve, but enterprise architecture is an activity that's focused around understanding the business needs and also the IT space and bringing those two together. So I see enterprise architecture as a kind of bridge between the two. So what are the key drivers for enterprise architecture? I think enterprise architecture has gained prominence in probably the last 5 or 6 so years. It's always been there, but I think particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, people have started to get a lot of interest in the area, and I think that's partly driven by this kind of bridge that I talked about the need to align IT and business. So here are some of the drivers for enterprise architecture. I talked about the alignment already between business and IT. The need to build IT solutions quickly and responsively. Yeah, business changes all the time, and IT has got to respond quickly to those changes. And if you have a IT architecture that's kind of spaghetti-like and it's all convoluted, it's obviously going to be difficult for you to actually respond quickly to changes in your IT. So there's a need to actually build IT solutions very quickly and responsively. The need to integrate applications and systems together. I've talked about enterprise business requirements and how these span across multiple business units and multiple systems. So now there's a need for more integrated views of data and information, and that's a key driver. Obviously, the cost of maintaining IT is continuing to rise and continuing to grow, so there's a need to really manage these escalating costs. And of course, budgets are always an issue. People are now looking for better return on investment. They're looking for better ways to reduce the spending on IT. They're looking for more efficient ways of delivering IT services. So that's been a driver for enterprise architecture. And as I mentioned, the search for efficiency. People are really, given the change in IT space and the various services and tools and providers you can use these days to deliver IT services, really efficiency is something that has become of prime importance and priority. And of course, there's also organizational changes. So as two organizations merge, for example, in a merger and acquisition, there could be a merging. You're not going to maintain two separate IT divisions or functions. It obviously there's a need to actually merge the two, and that again is where kind of enterprise integration has a role. So just to sum up for this particular video, what is the purpose of enterprise architecture? Well, this is something that I've taken from Gartner. They say enterprise architecture is often accused of being some kind of ivory tower exercise that's divorced from the realities of implementation. And the way I've spoken about enterprise architecture, you could treat it almost as an academic exercise, and that would obviously be the wrong way to approach it. So with enterprise architecture, it is a process, and we're trying to deliver business value, and we're trying to do that in several ways. Firstly, we're trying to find a way to articulate what the strategic requirements of the entire organization are. Also trying to understand what is the future state of the organization, where does it want to be in the future, maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and what kind of decisions, both on the technology side as well as the business side, need to be made in order to get there. And what is the kind of roadmap for change initiatives? What do we have planned, 3 years from now? What are the initiatives? How are we going to get there? So that's a roadmap. And trying to understand the requirements, principles, standards, and guidelines, particularly on the technology side, that will steer the implementation of these changes. Remember, you're talking about an IT function that might span multiple divisions, and you're trying to understand what the key IT decisions are that will affect everyone within that enterprise, the principles, what standards, what technology decisions you make, really how making those kind of strategic IT decisions, how that's going to support the business, and how that's going to support where the business wants to go in the future. So that's really the purpose of enterprise architecture. Really, it's to kind of align the business and IT to work out where the business wants to go and the right kind of IT decisions that need to be made in order to support that transition.